by the scorching summer of 1813. The once unbeatable French Grande Armée was a shadow of its former self, retreating across the dusty plains of northern Spain. They didn't just carry weapons, they carried the plundered wealth of a kingdom: gold, silver, and priceless art, slowing their desperate flight toward the French border. Napoleon's vision of a pan-European empire was fracturing. The Iberian Peninsula, once a conquest, was now the first piece of his empire to break away. Hunger, disease, and constant fatigue had broken the spirit of the rank and file. For the French soldiers, the dream of glory had turned into a nightmare. Behind every jagged ridge and within every forest, Spanish guerrilla fighters waited in silence, turning the retreat into a gauntlet of sudden, bloody ambushes. In Vitoria, King Joseph Bonaparte felt the walls closing in. His crown felt heavy, his generals were divided, and the enemy was closer than he imagined. Watching from the heights was Arthur Wellesley, the Duke of Wellington. A master of strategy, he saw not an army, but a target ripe for total destruction. June 21st, 1813. The stage was set in the Vitoria Basin, a natural trap surrounded by hills and the winding, treacherous waters of the Zadorra River. Wellington's plan was a masterpiece of coordination. He ordered 4 separate columns to move in unison, aiming to encircle and crush the French center. As the morning mist cleared, the Allied forces, British, Portuguese, and Spanish, poured down the green hills like an unstoppable tide of steel and determination. The French found themselves trapped. The narrow roads and steep river banks turned their defensive positions into a chaotic bottleneck of panic and fire. The valley thundered with the sound of cannons. In the very heart of Vitoria, the fighting became desperate, shifting from the fields to the narrow city streets. Discipline vanished as the retreat turned into a rout. Soldiers prioritized their lives over the heavy wagons of gold, leaving the emperor's wealth in the mud. King Joseph himself barely escaped the onslaught, forced to abandon his carriage and his dignity to avoid being captured by the surging British cavalry. By evening, the French army was shattered. They fled into the Pyrenees, leaving behind their equipment, their pride, and their iron grip on Spain. The battlefield was a ghost town of abandoned luxury. Thousands of wagons sat silent under the setting sun, a monument to a fallen empire. The victory was absolute. The spoils were so vast they nearly brought the Allied pursuit to a halt, as soldiers marveled at the captured treasures. Across Europe, the news of Vitoria signaled that the myth of Napoleonic invincibility was dead. The road to France was now wide open. Vitoria was the beginning of the end, the decisive blow that pushed the French back across the mountains and restored sovereignty to the Spanish people. As the dust settled on a new era, the shadow of the eagle finally vanished from the Iberian soil, leaving behind only the echoes of a fallen empire.